Clinton thought it was just another late-night taxi fare until Bae Suzy slid into his back seat with a gun and Jun Ji-hyun locked the doors from outside. "Drive," Suzy whispered. "And when we stop, you marry us." He thought she was joking. The safety clicked off. He was wrong. This story gets darker and more twisted with every choice Clinton makes. If you want to see how far he falls, and whether he ever escapes, then subscribe and stay until the end. Because what happens next? Even Clinton didn't see it coming. But to understand why they chose him, we need to go back. 3 weeks earlier, Clinton Maseko's taxi rattled through the neon-lit streets of Seoul, its engine humming like it was carrying a secret. He was tired, hungry, and still debating whether he should have taken that night shift. But bills in South Africa didn't pay themselves, and his family depended on him sending money home. That pressure could make any man work until his bones begged for rest. He pulled up outside a quiet convenience store near Mapo, just in time to see a group of university boys arguing with an elderly Korean man. At first, Clinton didn't pay attention. Seoul had its dramas, and he'd learned to keep his head down. Until one of the boys shoved the old man hard enough to make him stumble into the street. Clinton sighed, the kind of sigh a tired man gives right before life decides to test him. He stepped out of the taxi. The boys turned. They weren't impressed. One muttered something about foreigners. Another raised his chest like a poorly trained rooster. Clinton didn't flinch. He'd seen worse growing up in Joburg. What stopped the boys wasn't his tone, it was the steel in his eyes. Quiet steel. The kind that said he'd rather not fight, but he wouldn't run either. The boys backed away, one cursing under his breath. Clinton helped the old man up, dusting his jacket. The old man bowed slightly, before limping off. Clinton returned to his taxi, unaware that someone was watching him from across the street. Suzy? She leaned against a parked car, the glow of her cigarette lighting her expression just enough to reveal curiosity and something far more dangerous. She studied Clinton the way a predator studies the one prey foolish enough to walk into its clearing. He hadn't cowered, he hadn't escalated. Men like that were rare. Men like that were useful. Clinton drove off, clueless that he had just been marked. By morning, everything changed. He woke in his cramped Goshawan room to a soft knock. He thought it was his landlord again, asking for rent. Instead, it was Soo-hyun, a polite, quiet Korean woman who lived down the hall. She held a small basket of pastries and smiled with shy warmth. "I noticed you work late nights," she said. "I thought you might need breakfast." Clinton blinked. Kindness this early? In Seoul? From someone who barely spoke to anyone? He accepted the basket, grateful and surprised. Soo-hyun lingered, then looked down nervously. "I'm hosting a small dinner for friends this weekend. You're welcome to join." A dinner invitation felt harmless. Normal. Exactly what he needed to escape loneliness. Clinton agreed. He didn't know she wasn't who she seemed. By the time he reached the taxi depot, another storm was brewing. 2 black cars pulled into the lot, sleek enough to immediately grab attention. Men in suits stepped out. Sharp suits. Sharper expressions. Their leader, a tall man with neatly combed hair and the posture of someone trained to obey dangerous women, approached Clinton. "Your presence is requested," he said. "Requested by who?" Clinton asked. "By people you shouldn't keep waiting." Clinton tried to laugh it off. "I have a shift to start." The man didn't blink. "They insist." Clinton didn't move. The man stepped closer. "Last night, you intervened in a conflict at the corner of Seogang Row. Someone noticed your composure." "Someone?" Clinton asked. "That is all you need to know for now." Open loop 1. Who was watching him? Open loop 2. Why did they care about him at all? Clinton refused the invitation. Firm but calm. The man nodded, as if he expected that answer all along. "They said you'd decline. They also said to tell you. They admire men who protect the weak." Clinton's pulse skipped. How did they know about the old man? Was someone following him? Before he could ask, the men returned to their cars and disappeared into traffic. He thought the matter was over. He was wrong again. That evening, as rain drizzled over Seoul's rooftops, Clinton stopped by a street cart for hotteok. The vendor, a cheerful middle-aged woman, chatted while flipping the pancakes. She knew him well. Taxi drivers were her best customers. "Strange day," she said suddenly, lowering her voice. "Two fancy women came here earlier asking about you." Clinton froze. What did they want? They asked how long you've been in Korea, asked if you fight, asked if you obey. He almost dropped his hotteok. Obey? The woman shrugged. Strange women, beautiful, dangerous looking, like actresses in those dark dramas. Clinton's stomach tightened. Whoever they weren't just curious, they were digging through his life. He didn't realize the vendor was glancing past him, at Suzy, watching from behind a bus stop, and Jun Ji-hyun beside her, eyes narrowed in evaluation. They weren't stalking him randomly. They were studying him, measuring him, claiming him before he even knew a game had begun. Clinton walked home through narrow alleys, unaware he'd already passed a test neither sister had spoken aloud. They weren't impressed by strength. They weren't drawn to wealth. They were attracted to something far more specific. A man who stands his ground, yet bows to the right kind of pressure. A man they could shape. A man they could own. Hyun whispered to her sister. He carries fear like a responsibility, not a weakness. Suzy smiled. Good. Then he'll bend, but won't break. Clinton reached his room, closed the door, and sighed. He thought he had escaped another strange encounter. He didn't know the sisters had already chosen him. Their intentions would soon become clear. And when they did, Clinton would discover that being noticed by the wrong women can be far more dangerous than being hated by enemies. Because being desired by them, it was a trap no man escaped. Clinton didn't know why he felt watched all day, but the feeling clung to him like mist. Every mirror, every reflective bus window, every passing motorbike, he kept thinking he'd see the faces of those mysterious women again. But he forced himself to ignore it. He had a dinner invitation to honor, and Soo-hyun had been kind to him. Maybe the distraction would help. He stopped at a flower stall and bought a small bouquet. Not romantic, just respectful. In Korea, gestures mattered. He wanted to show appreciation. He didn't notice the matte black car parked across the street. Inside it, Suzy raised an eyebrow. Flowers? He's polite. Dangerous combination. Hyun hummed thoughtfully. Polite men hesitate at first. But once they choose a side, they're loyal. Suzy smirked. Let's see which side he chooses tonight. Clinton walked up the staircase of the old apartment building, rehearsing a thank you in his head. He knocked gently. The door opened instantly. But it wasn't Soo-hyun. It was a man. A large man, built like a wall and dressed in black. He looked Clinton up and down, expression unreadable. Clinton managed to speak. I think I have the wrong door. You don't. Clinton hesitated. Every instinct in his body screamed no, but leaving would be rude, and he didn't want to offend Soo-hyun. He stepped inside. The apartment was spotless, too spotless. No shoes by the door. No personal decorations. No scent of food. No chatter of guests. Just a single table, perfectly set. For three. 2 seats on one side, 1 seat alone on the other. Clinton's throat tightened. Something was wrong. Where is Soo-hyun? He asked quietly. The man didn't answer. He simply motioned toward the table. Clinton didn't move. Then, a soft voice drifted from the hallway. Let him sit. He's confused. Suzy stepped into view. Not in street clothes this time. She wore something elegant and dark, sharp lines, soft fabric. Like a CEO who knew her power and didn't waste time proving it. Jun Ji-hyun appeared behind her, dressed in matching tones, her expression calmer but no less intense. Clinton froze. It was them. The women, the vendor described. The women from the taxi depot. The women who were watching him. Suzy smiled faintly. You came. Good. I didn't come for you, Clinton said. His voice trembled, but his words were steady. I came for my neighbor. Your neighbor? Hyun repeated. Oh, Soo-hyun? She exchanged a glance with her sister. Susie answered bluntly, "She doesn't live here anymore." Clinton's stomach dropped. "What do you mean she doesn't live here?" "She moved out this morning," Hyun said in a soothing tone. "Family emergency." "I don't believe you." "You don't have to," Susie replied. "Sit." Clinton looked at the chair, the single seat across from theirs. Sitting felt like surrendering. But refusing felt dangerous. He stayed standing. "I'm leaving," he said. Susie nodded. "Okay." He blinked. She'd agreed? But then Hyun stepped forward. "You can go, Clinton. But understand this. We didn't invite you here to hurt you. Then what do you want from me?" Hyun studied him, like she was reading every line of his face, every tremor in his body. "Honesty," she said. "Respect," Susie added. "Possibility," Hyun finished. That word sent a shiver up Clinton's spine. Possibility of what? He didn't ask. He was too busy trying to keep his breathing steady. "Why me?" Susie stepped forward, close enough that he felt the heat of her presence. "Last night, you protected a man who couldn't defend himself. You didn't think twice. You acted. I didn't do anything special." "You did," Hyun said softly. "You stepped into danger without being foolish. You acted with purpose, not ego." "And?" Clinton asked. Susie tilted her head. "Men like you are rare." Clinton's heartbeat hammered in his ears. Their words felt like compliments, but wrapped in something he didn't understand. Something sharp. He took a step back toward the door. "Don't," Hyun said gently. "Why not?" "You'll walk into traffic," she lied smoothly. "The street is busy tonight." Clinton wasn't sure if it was concern or manipulation. Probably both. "My taxi is outside," he whispered. "We know," Susie said. "We watched you park it." He swallowed. "What do you want from me?" Susie didn't blink. "Dinner," Hyun added. "Conversation." "Choice," Susie finished. That word again. Clinton finally sat. Not because they forced him, but because standing made him feel like prey. And sitting gave him at least the illusion of control. The sisters took their seats across from him. A silent battle began. They asked questions he couldn't read. Questions that felt harmless, but carried weight beneath them. "Why Seoul?" Hyun asked. "To work. To send money home." "You're alone?" Susie asked. "Yes. That must be difficult." "It is," he admitted. Hyun leaned forward slightly. "You don't fear hard things. That's good." He didn't respond. The table grew quiet. Too quiet. Then Susie asked, "Do you obey rules, Clinton?" His breath froze. "What kind of question is that?" "An important one," Hyun said. "We need to know if you understand structure. Discipline. And if a woman tells you something," Susie added softly, "do you listen?" Clinton pushed back his chair. "I'm done." The man by the door didn't move. The sisters didn't move either. But Susie's voice sharpened. "If you walk out now, we decide something without you." Clinton paused. "What decision?" he asked carefully. "That depends on your answer," Hyun said. Her tone was still gentle. Too gentle. "Do you listen when spoken to?" Clinton's anger finally broke through the fear. Susie's expression didn't change, but her eyes lit with interest. "Good. Finally some fire," Hyun whispered, almost to herself. "He resists. But not out of arrogance. Out of principle." Susie nodded. "Which means he can be guided." Clinton didn't like the way they said that word. Guided, controlled, claimed. He stood again. "This isn't a dinner. This is whatever this is. And I'm not playing." Hyun didn't rise. She simply said, "Then we'll see you soon." "Why?" he asked. Susie smiled. "Because we've decided something." His chest tightened. "Decided what?" "That you matter." That was the moment Clinton understood something terrifying. They didn't want a conversation. They wanted him. And people like them did not take no easily. The lights flickered. A distant car horn blared. The air in the room felt heavy. Clinton left. He didn't run, but he should have. Because the sisters watched the door close behind him with identical expressions. Interest, possession, and hunger. Susie whispered, "He'll come around." Hyun nodded. And if he doesn't, Susie's smile curved, we'll help him decide. 2 open loops remained. Why him? And what choice were they preparing? He wouldn't get answers. Not yet. But the first trap had been set, and the second one was already waiting. Clinton spent the next 2 days pretending life was normal, but the sisters lingered in his mind like shadows. He felt them everywhere, in the quiet hallways of his building, in the reflections of passing buses, in the uneasy silence before dawn. He told himself he was imagining things. He wasn't, because Susie and Hyun had already memorized his routines. When he started his taxi shift, where he parked, which roads he preferred, and even the exact corner where he bought his late-night mandu. The sisters didn't chase men, but when they chose one, they didn't wait. By midnight on the 3rd day, Clinton's taximeter refused to turn on. He tapped it twice. Nothing. He checked the wires. Still nothing. He sighed, grabbed his phone, and tried to call dispatch. No signal. That was when the streetlights around him flickered once, then went dark, one by one, like someone was pulling the city's eyelids shut. Clinton's breath hitched. No, 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 not tonight. He started the engine to leave, but the dashboard lights died too. Everything went silent. Too silent. Not even the hum of distant traffic. Then, a soft knock tapped on his window. He didn't roll it down. He knew that silhouette. Even in darkness, it was unmistakable, the elegant outline, the posture, like she owned the night. Susie. She leaned down slowly, her face inches from the glass. Her voice came muffled through the window, but clear enough to freeze his pulse. Open the door, Clinton. He didn't move. That was when the other side of the taxi dipped slightly. Jun Ji-hyun had slipped in beside him, silent as breath, her perfume soft but unmistakable. Clinton's entire body jolted. He hadn't even heard the door open or close. Hyun whispered, "You look tired, let us help." He tried to open his door, but Susie blocked it with her hand, nails tapping the metal lightly. "You're safe," she said. "Stop panicking." "Safe from what?" Clinton whispered. "Your fear," Hyun replied. He didn't understand. He wouldn't understand for hours. Susie finally opened his door and slid in behind him. Now he was surrounded. Hyun at his side, Susie directly behind him, their presence like heat against his spine. Hyun spoke first, tone calm, steady, almost tender. "You didn't eat dinner tonight." "I wasn't hungry." "You're lying," she murmured. He didn't deny it. Susie leaned close enough for him to feel her breath on his neck. "You've been trying to avoid thinking about us." He swallowed hard. "I haven't." "You have." Her fingers brushed the back of his seat. "You avoid what scares you." "That's not true." "Then why are you shaking?" He wasn't aware he was shaking until she said it. Hyun's gaze softened. "You think we're here to harm you. I don't know what you're here for." Susie answered first. "Clarity." Hyun added, "Decision." There it was again, the word that felt like a trap disguised as an invitation. Decision. Clinton forced a breath. "If you want answers from me, say what you want." Susie smiled softly. "A beginning." Hyun nodded. "A future." He shook his head. "I didn't choose any of this." "Not yet," Hyun said. "But you will." He tried to steady his voice. "Let me go." "We will," Susie said. "After tonight." The taxi engine roared to life on its own. Clinton's eyes widened. "What?" "Relax," Susie said. "We're not controlling your car," Hyun added with a faint smile. "Just everything around it." The taxi eased forward, as if pulled by the night itself, guided down streets. Clinton didn't recognize. He wasn't driving. He wasn't choosing. He could only grip the steering wheel and feel the sisters watching him breathe. They traveled for 20 silent minutes until the taxi rolled into an underground parking structure lit by soft golden lights. Empty. Not a single other car. Not a single sound. The sisters stepped out. Clinton remained frozen. Hyun turned back to him. "Come." He shook his head again. "No." Susie leaned down to meet his eyes. "Clinton, come." Her tone wasn't harsh. It was final. He stepped out. Not because she commanded him, but because staying inside felt more dangerous. They led him through a doorway into a minimalist room with a single table and 3 chairs. But it wasn't like the dinner setup before. This one felt different. Too quiet. Too intentional. "Sit," Hyun said softly. Clinton did. Suzy stood across from him. Hyun sat beside him. He felt their presence like twin gravity wells, pulling him into orbit. Hyun folded her hands. "Clinton, we are giving you something tonight." He didn't speak. Suzy said, "A choice." His jaw clenched. "You keep saying that, but none of this feels like a choice." "That's because you misunderstand the offer," Hyun replied. "Which is?" he asked. "You can walk away," Suzy said simply. His heart pounded. "Walk away? Just like that?" Hyun continued. "We will never follow you again. Never call. Never appear. You can return to your life. Your taxi. Your routine." Clinton stared at them, suspicion clawing up his spine. "What's the catch?" Suzy shrugged. "If you leave forever. And if I stay?" Hyun answered gently. "Then you don't try to run again." A shiver went through him. "Choose," Suzy said. He stood slowly. Neither sister blocked him. Neither raised their voice. Hyun simply whispered, "Whatever you decide, decide because it's true. Not because you're scared." He took one step toward the door. One, then he looked back. Suzy wasn't smiling. Hyun wasn't begging. Both simply watched him with a quiet intensity that twisted something deep in his chest. They wanted him, but they weren't forcing him. Not this moment. Not yet. His hand pressed to the door. He pushed it open. Cold air rushed in. Freedom. Silence. Distance. But when he looked down the empty tunnel leading to the exit, something inside him clenched. Leaving meant returning to loneliness. To silence. To days where nobody cared if he lived or died. To nights spent alone in a cramped room with nothing but exhaustion for company. Suzy's voice drifted to him, soft but sharp. "If you leave, we erase ourselves from your life. Completely." Hyun added, "Are you truly ready for that?" Clinton closed his eyes, and the truth hit him. He wasn't. He turned around, not running, not surrendering, just facing what was already waiting. Suzy breathed out slowly, a controlled exhale she didn't let him see. Hyun's eyes softened relief she tried to hide. He walked back to the table, sat down, and whispered the words that sealed everything. "I'm still here." Suzy leaned in. "Then understand something." Hyun's voice matched hers perfectly. "You're ours now." The door clicked shut behind him. This time, he didn't try to open it. Clinton didn't know whether he walked back to the table because he wanted to, or because the sisters had already reshaped the gravity around him. They didn't restrain him, didn't threaten him, didn't even smile. They simply watched. And somehow, watching him was enough. Hyun spoke first, her voice quiet, steady. "We're not here to break you." Suzy added, "Just to claim what we've chosen." Clinton swallowed. "I never agreed to be anything to you." "No," Suzy said. "But you agreed to stay in the room." It was a small step, but to them, it meant everything. They slid a single sheet across the table. No legal jargon, no trick clauses, just 3 lines. 1. Clinton Miseko will serve as personal driver to Bae Suzy and Junji Hyun. 2. Clinton will move into their protected residence for his own safety. 3. Clinton will not disappear without notifying them. His pulse quickened. "This isn't a contract. This is protection," Hyun finished softly. Suzy nodded. "We're giving you the safest life you've ever had." "I didn't ask for that." "You didn't ask for danger either," Suzy replied. Yet it came. Clinton stared at the paper. Nothing forced, but everything inevitable. "Why me?" he whispered. Hyun's answer came fast, as if the truth had been waiting on her tongue. "Because you don't bend to power blindly. And when you do bend," Suzy added lightly, "it's not fear. It's reason." He didn't sign the paper. He didn't refuse it, either. So Suzy stood and said only, "Come." Hyun followed. Clinton hesitated, then followed, too. Because somehow, Walking away again felt harder than staying. By morning, everything changed. A black sedan waited outside for him. Not his taxi, theirs. Hyun held the door open. Suzy watched, unmoving, calculating. Clinton sighed. You expect me to just get in? Suzy answered. We expect you to stop pretending you aren't curious. He hated how accurate that was. He got in. The drive was silent. The kind of silence heavy with intention. Suzy read documents. Hyun watched the city through tinted windows. Clinton kept his eyes forward, pretending he wasn't aware of their eyes, drifting to him at intervals, studying, analyzing, comparing notes silently. They climbed into the mountains overlooking Seoul. That's when Clinton saw it. The mansion. A long, sweeping structure framed by stone, glass, and steel. It didn't look built. It looked installed, like it had grown from the earth with purpose. Guards in black suits stood in perfect stillness along the driveway. This wasn't luxury. This was a fortress disguised as a home. Hyun stepped out first. Welcome. Clinton's throat tightened. I'm not staying long. Suzy's gaze lingered on him. Not mocking, not annoyed. Something else. Expectation. We'll see, she said. Inside, the mansion wasn't cold like he expected. It was warm not with comfort, but with wealth. Soft lantern light, matte black marble floors, clean wooden railings, minimalistic design. Every sight felt curated. Controlled, loved. His room was already prepared. Clothes in his size, shoes neatly lined up, a phone charger folded on the bedside table. Even toiletries, matching his skin type, and hair texture items, hard to find in Korea. He froze. How did you? Hyun answered gently. We pay attention. His chest tightened again, the feeling of someone touching his life without asking. Suzy added, we don't guess, we research. He stepped back from the closet. I don't want you inside my life like this. Hyun lowered her gaze. But we want you inside ours. That line hit harder than a threat. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. Later, Hyun gave him a tour of the mansion. She explained security doors, safe routes, where he was allowed and where he wasn't. Her tone remained soft, instructional, almost caring. Clinton felt her watching him the way someone watches a bird that might fly away too soon. Then Suzy appeared at the top of the stairs, leaning against the railing. Enjoying the tour? She asked, eyes flicking between Clinton and her sister. Hyun nodded. He should know where everything is. Suzy's eyes narrowed just a little. Interesting that you wanted to show him personally. Hyun didn't flinch. You were busy. I'm busy now, Suzy said. But I'm here. Clinton sensed the sharp shift in the air. Something was wrong. Both sisters stood close enough that their tension radiated like heat. Their eyes locked, silent words passing between them like heated currents. Jealousy, possessiveness, old arguments he didn't understand. Clinton took a step back. Suzy spoke without looking at him. You already are. Hyun whispered. We weren't fighting. You were, he said. About me. They didn't deny it. That made it worse. He forced a steady breath. If I stay here, I need boundaries. Both women turned sharply toward him. Boundaries. A word they didn't like. But a word they respected. Clinton continued, keeping his voice calm. I'm not a possession. I'm not a project. And I'm not someone you get to monitor or manipulate. Hyun's expression softened. We're not manipulating you. Suzy didn't speak, but something flickered in her eyes. Guilt. Clinton pushed on. If I live here, I need privacy. I need my own choices. And I need to be treated like a person, not someone you can collect. He expected anger. He expected coldness. He expected the subtle threat he'd come to feel behind their every word. Instead, Suzy slowly nodded. Hyun lowered her gaze, almost in respect. We hear you, Suzy said quietly. Tell us your boundaries, Hyun added. We'll honor them. Clinton studied them. He didn't trust them. But the sincerity in their voices was real, or real enough to touch something inside him. My room, he said. My space. No one enters without knocking. They nodded at the same time. I keep my phone, he added. Of course, Hyun whispered. And I drive my own routes, unless there's danger. Susie's eyebrow rose. Danger is subjective. Then let me decide, Clinton insisted. Again they nodded. He exhaled, relieved and confused at the same time. Because the sisters didn't argue. They didn't punish him. They didn't push back. Instead, they stepped closer, their shadows merging across the floor. Susie's voice softened. Clinton, you haven't realized it yet. Realized what? He asked. Hyun answered with a truth that changed everything. You're already changing us. The hallway fell silent. But inside that silence, something new was beginning, something deeper, darker, more intimate than any of them understood yet. A shift. A fault line. A bond forming under pressure. Clinton wasn't theirs. Not yet. But for the first time, he wasn't running. Not from them. And not from himself. For a few days, Clinton's life at the mansion settled into something dangerously close to routine. Not safe. Nothing about the sisters was safe, but structured. Predictable. Almost peaceful. He woke. He drove them. He ate meals cooked by a chef who never spoke. He slept in a room that felt too clean to be his. But the peace didn't last. It never did around the Park sisters. By Thursday night, Clinton started noticing the same car trailing him during his shifts. Not one of the sisters' guards, those men moved with purpose, not hesitation. This car lingered, hovered, followed at irregular distances, sometimes 3 blocks behind, sometimes right on his bumper. He tried to convince himself he was imagining it. But when a second car appeared the next night, same model, same matte black tint, he knew this wasn't paranoia. Someone else was watching him. He returned to the mansion tense, stiff, heart pounding harder than he wanted to admit. Hyun noticed instantly. She approached him in the hallway. Something followed you. He froze. How did you? You look for exits when you're scared, she whispered. Your eyes keep moving. Clinton looked away. I'm not scared. You are, she said gently. But that's not the problem. What is? You didn't tell us. He didn't respond. Seconds later, Susie appeared behind him. Unlike Hyun, she didn't ask what was wrong. She didn't comfort. She didn't soften. She simply said, get in the war room. The war room? Clinton hadn't been allowed inside before. The door was always locked. Now Hyun unlocked it with a biometric scanner. The door swung open, revealing a space that felt nothing like the warm mansion hallways. This room was cold, industrial, built for conflict, walls lined with screens displaying city maps, live CCTV feeds, encrypted messages, a table covered in documents, blueprints, photographs of men Clinton didn't recognize. Susie stood in front of the largest monitor. It showed 3 cars, all circling the same route. Clinton drove tonight. She didn't look at him. You should have told us. I didn't know who they were. That's exactly why you tell us, Susie said sharply. Unknown threats matter more than known ones. Hyun touched his arm. You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't understand how dangerous this is. What do they want? Clinton asked. Susie tapped the screen. They want us. And now, they know you matter to us. So, you became a target. Clinton felt that word hit him again. Matter. To them, too much. More than he wanted. More than he understood. Before he could respond, one of Susie's men rushed into the room, breath tight. The files leaked. Susie turned slowly. What files? The warehouse contracts. The transfer logs. Someone sent encrypted copies to a rival syndicate. You need to see this. Clinton watched her jaw tighten, the sharp, terrifying kind of tension that meant someone would suffer for this betrayal. Hyun stepped beside her. It had to be someone close. Someone with access. Clinton's mind raced. What warehouse? The one near Hangangjin? Both sisters turned to him sharply. How did you know that location? Susie asked. His stomach dropped. You brought me there, weeks ago. Hyun looked startled. We never took you inside. But you made me drive you to that area, Clinton said. At 3 a.m., you didn't explain why. Susie exchanged a glance with her sister, silent realization. Someone followed us that night, Hyun murmured. But not us. Him. Clinton felt the weight of that accusation settle onto his shoulders. You're saying this is my fault? Suzy shook her head. It's not your fault, Hyun finished. But you are the window they're trying to break. He didn't know how to respond. Before he could speak, Suzy's phone buzzed. She read the message. Her expression didn't change, but her entire presence shifted, darkening like a storm front. They're moving tonight, she said. Then we move first, Hyun whispered. Clinton's skin prickled. Move where? Suzy answered without emotion. Wherever they are. He blinked. You're going after them? Suzy stared at him. We protect what belongs to us. He didn't have time to argue, because the moment he stepped outside to catch his breath, everything happened at once. A van screeched around the corner. A cloth bag slammed over his head. Strong hands yanked him backward. A voice hissed, "Got him." The world turned into darkness, noise, and violent motion. Clinton fought elbows, kicks, anything. But the men were stronger, trained, relentless. His hands were zip-tied, his legs pinned, his body thrown into cold metal flooring. Open loop 1. Why him? Open loop 2. What decision were the sisters forcing toward? The van sped off. He heard fragments of conversation. He's the driver, means everything to them. Good leverage. Don't bruise him too much. The boss wants him talking. Clinton's heart hammered. Leverage. He was leverage. A pawn. But even that was wrong. Pawns are replaceable. He wasn't. Not to the sisters. The van hit a sharp turn. Clinton rolled across the floor. The men laughed. One nudged him with his boot. Relax. They'll come for you. Another added, and we'll be ready. Minutes stretched. Hours, maybe. Time blurred into fear and metal, and the suffocating smell of rubber mats. Finally, the van stopped. They dragged him into a dim room, lit by a single bulb. Concrete walls, cold air, distant water dripping. Somewhere, underground. A man stepped forward tall, silver-haired, eyes like winter. Clinton Maseko, he said. The sisters' new investment. Clinton didn't answer. The man smiled. Oh, you have courage. Good. Makes this more fun. Clinton tensed. What do you want? He asked. To send a message, the man replied, that the sisters aren't untouchable. He leaned close. And you? You're the softest point in their armor. Clinton's breathing tightened. You think they'll trade anything for me? Oh, they won't trade, the man said. They'll attack, and when they do, we'll slaughter them. He stepped back. Bring the camera. Clinton's blood froze. They weren't planning to kill him quickly. They were planning to use him, to draw the sisters into a trap. But before the men could set anything up, something changed. A sound. Distant. Too faint at first. Then clearer. Footsteps. Soft. Measured. Deadly. The silver-haired man turned. What is that? No one answered. The lights flickered. A guard stepped toward the door, and the door exploded inward. A shadow slammed into him, taking him to the ground. Before Clinton could process anything, Suzy's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Move again and you die. Hyun slipped in beside her, no expression, no hesitation, only cold purpose. Clinton had seen the sisters intimidating. He'd never seen them lethal. Not like this. Men rushed them. Men fell. Quickly. Violently. Precise strikes. Silent kills. No wasted motion. No mercy. They weren't fighting. They were erasing obstacles. The silver-haired man tried to run. Suzy's bullet caught his leg. Hyun kicked his weapon away. Suzy leveled her gun at his heart. Touch him again, she said, and your entire bloodline turns to ash. He trembled. My fight isn't with him. Hyun's voice turned ice. It is now. Clinton watched, breath shaking. They didn't just come for him. They destroyed for him. Suzy turned, eyes fierce. Clinton, can you stand? He nodded, barely. Hyun cut his restraints. Her hands were gentle, almost trembling. He didn't understand why, until she whispered, We thought we lost you. Suzy held out her hand, not demanding, not controlling. Inviting. Come home, she said. Clinton took her hand. Not because she forced him, but because In that moment, he realized no one had ever fought for him like this. No one ever would again. The drive back to the mansion wasn't silent. Silence would have been easier. Instead, Clinton sat in the back seat between Susie and Hyun, both watching him like they were afraid he might disappear again. He hated it. He hated the fear in their eyes. He hated knowing he'd caused it. He hated knowing they'd kill and burn and destroy because of him. He hated how much that meant. Hyun reached for his hand. He pulled it away. The air froze instantly. Susie's jaw tightened. "You're upset." "I'm not upset," Clinton said quietly. "I'm drowning." He stared out the window. Seoul rushed past in blurred streaks, but it felt like another planet. Another life. A life that made sense. Hyun whispered, "Clinton." He finally turned toward them. "You two said I matter. That you'd protect me. But look at what that means. People died tonight. Because of me. Because of them," Susie corrected. "No," Clinton shot back. He didn't yell. That made it worse. He was calm. Too calm. Hyun swallowed. "You're blaming yourself for their decisions." "I'm blaming myself," he said, "for staying." That landed like a blade. The car pulled into the mansion's underground garage. Soldiers lined the walls, heads bowed as the sisters passed. But for once, Clinton didn't feel protected by all this power. He felt trapped inside it. When they reached the private elevator, Susie stopped walking. "You're thinking of leaving?" Clinton didn't answer, not out of fear, out of exhaustion. Hyun stepped closer, voice gentle. "Clinton." He shook his head. "I can't talk in this place. I can't breathe in here." Susie said nothing, but her fingers curled into fists, small signs of panic she tried to hide. Hyun pressed the elevator button. "Then we breathe upstairs, together." The doors closed around them, and Clinton felt the walls shrink. He finally whispered, "I almost died tonight." "You saw that." Hyun nodded slowly. "And you killed half a dozen men because of it." Susie stepped forward. "To save you." "That's exactly what I mean," Clinton said. Hyun touched his face gently, eyes searching him. "Are we supposed to apologize for protecting the man we care for?" Clinton's chest tightened. "It's not protection. If the whole world wants me dead, because you love me that much." The doors opened to the private suite. For a moment, no one moved. Then Hyun reached for him again. "Let's sit, please." He let them guide him into the lounge. Hyun sat on the floor beside his knees, like someone surrendering without words. Susie stood in front of him, too tense to sit, too afraid to move. Clinton pressed both hands into his hair. "What am I in this? A liability? A trophy? Your weak point? What?" Hyun looked up first. "You're our reason." That answer cut deeper than anything she could have said. "Reason for what?" he asked. "For trying," she whispered. "For wanting something outside blood and war and revenge. You make us want more." Susie backed up slightly, as if exposing a wound. "You think we were human before you came?" "We weren't. Hyun and I were weapons. That's all. We didn't feel anything. Didn't want anything. Then you..." She stopped. Her voice cracked. Susie Park never cracked. "Then you arrived," she forced out, and suddenly losing mattered. Suddenly, someone mattered. You mattered. Clinton felt his heartbeat stumble. He wasn't prepared for this. For raw truth. For unfiltered vulnerability. Hyun rested her head against his knee. "If we lost you," Clinton whispered, "you don't need me to save you." Hyun smiled sadly. "But we do." Susie finally knelt too, eyes locked on his, fierce and quiet and terrified. "We don't need your obedience," she said. "We don't need your fear. We need your choice." That line hit him like a blow. He looked between them, these two dangerous, brilliant, broken women who had shattered and rebuilt his life in equal measure. "What choice?" he asked softly. Susie inhaled. "Stay." Hyun's voice shook. "With us. Not as leverage, not as property, not as a hostage." She took his hand with trembling fingers. "But as ours." Clinton closed his eyes. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him wanted to scream. But a deeper part, a part he didn't want to examine, ached to stay. And that scared him more than anything else tonight. He stood abruptly. Both sisters rose with him. He paced the room, breathing hard. If I stay, I'm choosing violence. I'm choosing danger. I'm choosing a life where people come after me because of who I'm tied to. Hyun whispered, "We know." And if I stay, Clinton continued. He stopped walking. They froze. But if I stay, it has to be on my terms. Suzy exchanged a look with Hyun. What terms? Clinton faced them fully, voice steady. First, you stop treating me like I'm made of glass. I'm not fragile. I survived on streets you don't even know exist. Hyun nodded slowly. Second, no lies. I don't care how dark your world is, you tell me the truth. Suzy's throat tightened. Agreed. And third. Clinton took a breath. I don't want to be protected. I want to be involved. If I'm part of this world, then I'm part of it. No more shutting me out. Silence. Then Hyun whispered, You want to stand beside us? Not behind you, Clinton said. Beside you. The sisters shared a long, silent exchange, one of their wordless decisions. Then, Suzy said with soft finality, Then you stay. Hyun reached for him again, slow this time. Not claiming, not demanding, just offering. Clinton let his fingers close around hers, not because he was forced, not because he was afraid, but because something irreversible had already happened inside him. He'd crossed a line. He couldn't go back. Hyun exhaled shakily. We won't fail you again. Suzy stepped close enough for their foreheads to touch. But understand this, Clinton, if you stay. Her breath trembled on his cheek. We will kill anything that tries to take you from us. He didn't pull away. He didn't flinch. He whispered back, Then let me choose you both, fully. Hyun made a small sound, half relief, half something deeper. Suzy closed her eyes. Clinton Masako had just sealed his fate. By choice. The sisters didn't let go of Clinton for a long time. Not because he was fragile, but because they'd never been chosen before, never freely, never knowingly, never by someone who saw the monster and still stayed. When he finally stepped back, both Suzy and Hyun watched him like he might vanish if they blinked. He didn't. He stood there, steady, grounded, calmer than he'd been in hours. We should clean up, Clinton said quietly. We all look like a war happened. Hyun huffed a humorless laugh. A war did happen. Then let's not carry it into tomorrow. Suzy tilted her head slightly. You're giving orders now? Clinton held her gaze. I'm giving direction. Your world runs on strength, mine runs on clarity. We need both. Suzy didn't smile, but something in her eyes softened respect, not amusement. A small victory. They walked toward the private bathroom together, but Clinton stopped at the doorway and turned back toward the window. The city lights rippled across the glass like distant stars, blurred by the fog of the post-storm air. Hyun paused beside him. What is it? He didn't answer at first. He was listening to something only he could hear, the aftershock of tonight's violence, the echo of their confessions, the weight of the decision he'd just made. Then he said, I know what staying means. I know what I'm choosing. But I'm not choosing death. Not for me, not for either of you. Hyun swallowed hard. We don't want to die either. No, Clinton murmured, but you're willing. Too willing. Suzy leaned her shoulder against the doorframe, studying him. We fight to protect what we care about. And if you die protecting me? Clinton asked. What happens then? I lose both of you. I don't want that. For the first time, Hyun looked shaken not by fear, but by the realization of what his words implied. He cared. Deeply. Painfully. Dangerously. Suzy crossed the room slowly, every step deliberate, controlled. No trace of her usual menace, only honesty. We're learning, she said, to protect without throwing ourselves into fire, to fight without losing everything. You gave us that. Clinton shook his head. Not yet. No, Hyun corrected softly. But staying is the first step. She touched his shoulder, not claiming, not demanding, simply steadying him. Let's start with washing the blood off. Then we talk. Clinton nodded. For the first time since he'd met the sisters, he didn't feel like he was being absorbed into their world. He felt like he was becoming part of it. By choice, inside the bathroom, steam curled around their silhouettes as they cleaned the final remnants of the night from their skin and clothes. No one spoke at first. The silence wasn't tense, it was necessary. Grounding. A transition into whatever came next. Hyun watched Clinton through the mirror. "You fight well," she said. "Even when you're terrified." Clinton rinsed his hands. "Fear keeps people alive. Courage keeps them standing," Susie murmured from the doorway, towel draped over her shoulders. "You have both." He didn't argue. Not tonight. When they finished, the three of them settled into the lounge again. Clean clothes, clean skin, but nowhere near clean consciences. Susie sat forward, elbows on her knees. "There's something we need to tell you." Clinton stiffened. "Another secret?" "A truth," Hyun corrected. "Not a threat." Clinton waited. Hyun leaned closer. Tonight wasn't a random attack. Victor didn't just want revenge for his father. Clinton's pulse tightened. Then what did he want? Susie answered, voice low. "He wanted you." A cold ripple slid down Clinton's spine. "For what?" he whispered. Hyun exchanged a grim look with her sister. "Because powerful men always want the thing another powerful woman values. Not to love, not to protect, to break." Open loop 1 tightened. Clinton is still a target. Open loop 2 pulsed louder. The sisters aren't done with their war. Clinton leaned back, the room suddenly feeling smaller again. "So even if I walked away, they'd hunt you," Susie said simply. "To hurt us, or to claim you for themselves." Claim? Clinton's chest tightened again, not with fear, but with something sharper, more personal. "I'm not a prize," he said. "No," Hyun whispered. "You're the game changer." And Susie added, "That's why you can't leave. Not because we want you trapped, but because out there, you're unprotected. And too many people have seen your face." Clinton breathed slowly, measured, accepting the truth. "So this is my life now," he said finally. "War. Strategy. Danger. And you too?" Susie didn't answer. She didn't have to. Hyun reached for his hand again. This time, he didn't pull away. He squeezed her fingers gently, his first act of voluntary affection since everything fell apart. Susie watched the gesture like it was a sunrise after a long winter. Clinton exhaled. "I'll stand with you. But if I stand with you, everything changes. No more acting without telling me. No more hiding things until blood is on the floor." Hyun nodded. Susie swallowed. "Agreed." Clinton leaned forward, elbows on his knees, mirroring Susie's posture from earlier. "Then tomorrow," he said quietly, "you start teaching me how your world really works. All of it. No filtering." Both sisters froze. Then Susie whispered, "You want to learn?" "I need to." Hyun's voice trembled. "Clinton, that means stepping fully into our world." "I know. And there's no return," Susie said. "No half loyalty. No halfway out." Clinton met her eyes with steady resolve. "I made my choice." Hyun inhaled sharply. Susie closed her eyes briefly, like someone sealing a pact they never thought they'd receive. Clinton straightened. "Now tell me the real truth. Will the attack stop?" Hyun shook her head slowly. "No." Susie added, "Tonight was only the beginning." Clinton didn't speak for several seconds. Then he whispered, "Then I'll be ready." The room went silent, not with tension, with acceptance, with unity, with something that wasn't peace but felt close enough to breathe. Hyun whispered, "We'll protect you." Susie whispered, "You'll stand with us." Clinton whispered, "We'll survive." The lights dimmed across the mansion. Inside, the three of them finally breathed together. No more running, no more denial. For the first time since the sisters entered his life, Clinton felt the ground steady beneath him. But elsewhere in Seoul, in a silent room lit only by a single screen, a message appeared on an encrypted device. Clinton stayed. "Good." Another message followed, a second later. "Proceed with phase 2. They'll bring him to us themselves." The sender deleted the thread, wiped the device, and stepped into the dark. The next storm had already begun. We have come to the end of our story. Thank you for watching and always supporting my channel. See you in the next one.